To Syria now, where reports have emerged of fresh violence. Activists in the city of Hama have blamed government forces for a blast that killed 70 and destroyed a number of buildings, calling the incident a massacre. State television, though, said one of the structures was being used as a terrorist bomb-making factory and an accident there caused the explosion. As the number of injured and displaced continues to mount in Syria, so too does the number of refugees. Thousands have now crossed into neighbouring countries in recent weeks. To discuss the problem, earlier I was joined by Guterres. He's the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Now, are you seeing over the last month the flow of refugees out of Syria increasing?
The flow has decreased when the ceasefire was declared, and for a moment there was a kind of a smaller outflow, and we are afraid that now with the recent developments it might be on the rise again.
Are you managing to get donations and get support for the refugees who have come out?
I think it's important to say that in Turkey, the Turkish government and the Turkish Red Crescent have been fully in charge. And in Lebanon and in Jordan, yes, there we are cooperating with the governments and with other humanitarian partners in order to provide assistance. In the beginning, there was a slow flow of support, financial support from the international community, but things are picking up. And I'm relatively optimistic because this crisis is so much in the spotlight, contrary to Mali, where unfortunately it tends to be a forgotten crisis, even if the number of refugees fleeing from Mali is much higher than the number of refugees fleeing from Syria. But as this is the crisis that is now in the news every day, I'm optimistic that there will be meaningful support from the international community.
Okay, it is your job, of course, to monitor and help refugees worldwide. When you see a flow of refugees like we have just seen, and we are witnessing at the moment out of Syria, what alarm bells does it ring for you? What do you worry about what is going to happen?
Now, I think what is terrible in today's world is the multiplication of crises. We have three acute crises at the present moment: Syria, Sudan, South Sudan, and Mali. But the old crises never die. And Afghanistan is still what it is. The Democratic Republic of Congo is still what it is. What for me is clear today is that the international community has not shown the capacity to prevent conflict and to address conflict, solving it quickly, before it becomes protracted and before the humanitarian impact on people becomes sometimes devastating. And so my appeal would be a much stronger emphasis of the international community in preventing conflict and in being able to come together, everybody together, forgetting some divisions that sometimes occur, in order to make sure that when conflict erupts, it is quickly solved. Okay. When you have things going on and on and on and on, then the humanitarian impact is devastating.
Okay, well, one final question about Syria. The French today have called for at least examining the possibility of outside military intervention in Syria. Will that help your job, or will it hinder your job? How does it affect, how would military intervention affect the refugee situation?
UNHCR is a strictly humanitarian mandate. And obviously, we cannot be involved in the political dimension of this conflict resolution, because the moment we are involved in a political dimension, we lose the independence, the neutrality that's necessary for us to work both with the Syrians outside Syria and with Iraqis that are refugees inside Syria. And I think it's important to recognize that Syria has always been a very generous country, hosting refugees from the outside.
But you must have some opinion on whether outside military force inside Syria would help or hinder the refugee situation. In your experience, does it make a difference?
You can be sure that I have an opinion on that, but it is also true that to abide by the rules that I have in my mandate, this is an area where I cannot pronounce myself. I need to keep the independence that is needed to be able to deal with all the governments in the area and to deal with all the societies in the area, to preserve the asylum space for Syrians outside and to preserve the asylum space for Iraqis inside Syria.
Okay, Commissioner Guterres, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.